So, it's time. Hello, hello, hello. And hello once again in speech, Ellen. And hello, Panda. Welcome, welcome. How are you doing? Do you stream daily? I wish I could stream daily. I stream 3 times a week. I stream Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So, yeah. So my exact times and everything are on are in the panels down below. And on social media like Blue Sky and Twitter, everything linked down below. So if you're interested in it, you can check it up there. Do you have Discord? I mean, privately I do. Show your model. I don't take light to threats, Panda. I do not take light to threats. Now we're gonna sit here without the model a bit longer because of you. Okay. Okay, let me switch over. Hello. Oh, so much. Why is this here? I didn't set this up. I'm in an evil mood today. Yeah, I know this. It's more colorful than I anticipated. So, let me adjust my microphone a little bit. So, how you all doing today? Hope you have a nice day. Or nice evening as it is in my case. And hello Ray! Wow, a lot of people coming by today. I'm very, very happy. Welcome, welcome. Yeah. As already mentioned, I think already standing in this, it's written in the title, we're doing some SCP stuff, so it's gonna be a bit creepy today. Which I'm very, very excited. Oh, you just got home from work, Panda. Probably had a busy day again, I assume. I hope your whole body doesn't hurt again. Wait, that sounds wrong. Or does it? Anyway, we're gonna do a little bit of a creepy stream today, since the last 2 Tuesdays. Oh yeah, and I set up a new toggle, so now I'm gonna be rained on with emotes. And yeah, gonna do a bit of creepy stuff. It kind of established itself with Slay the Princess. They've also already had a bit of a creepy vibe, same as with Pony Island. I think this was on Thursday, so I kind of felt like doing a bit more creepy, scary stuff. Alan, so that's probably not the place here for that. So right now we're streaming. I mean, you can like write me on Twitter or anything if you're interested in it, but not during the stream. Right now we gotta focus on the stream itself. So I've prepared a good selection of a few SCP stuff. So for those, I'm just gonna explain. I don't know if everyone is aware of what SCP is. Not sure. Just in case if somebody doesn't know it. I give LuxTaleor. Oh, thank you for the flowers. My heart goes out to you for the flowers. Actually, I do like flowers a lot. Yeah. Short explanation for those who don't know what SCP is. So SCP is basically a collection of... It's like its own universe with a collection of a bunch of creepy stories. And SCP stands for Secure, Contain, and Protect, which the overarching lore is basically the SCP Foundation is a secretive foundation that operates across the world and all worlds in the way, and basically contains anomalies that sometimes threaten people or the whole universe, world, whatever. And sometimes they're more nice, but most of them are creepy. And so I thought we'd do some creepy stuff today. Maybe I'm gonna read some entries from the SCP Wiki too later on, depending on how I feel. Maybe we also just read a bit of tales afterwards. So I have my books next to me with more tales like last time. I think it was last Tuesday. So we're gonna combine creepy and tale telling today. At least that's the That's the goal. So yeah. So let me just check everything. Let's smack the book. I hope it wasn't too loud though. Oh, my model. Yeah. I've set up my mod is ready. With my mod, I'm talking about my my laptop. I have right next to me. So I'll look into it, Alan. But now it's time. I'm gonna switch over to the React scene first. Let me prepare here. Oh damn it! I didn't sort them how I wanted them. Just a little moment. We're gonna sort through a bit. I have a few especially creepy ones. I do not know I do know a few of those videos and like wiki entries I've prepared, but I don't know all of them. But those I do know, I like them very much. So, and I kind of want to share them. And I don't know those especially those videos except for one. So no, two. Excuse me, except for two. Gonna switch over, I think. Yeah, I guess we can put it like that. Perfectly prepared as always. This. Yeah, I guess we can do it. Okay. Little switch. First of all, if you no. Namde call. And we're gonna switch over. Correct. So, I prepared an assortment of different videos and a few articles, and we're gonna get through them now. This is not the first one though. We're gonna go in chronological order. But we're gonna stop the music for this one, because we don't need double sound penetration, I guess. The first one is SCP-3008, Trapped in IKEA. Specifically wanted to watch that one too, because I just was in IKEA yesterday, actually. So, yeah. Dramatic end of music, yeah, abruptly. This video features original stories based and inspired by the SCP Foundation. Some details and accounts of events, people, and places have been dramatized in an attempt to explain the sometimes unexplainable.
On March 15th, 2011, Martin Sims was wandering down the streets of Carson, California. His clothes were ragged, he was filthy, and gibbering like a madman with a full beard and long, unkempt hair. His body was covered in scars, but he showed no signs of malnutrition. What made Martin's sudden appearance so remarkable? He'd been missing for 3 years. When he was interviewed by police, they asked him where he'd been all this time. They couldn't believe his answer. He'd been trapped in an IKEA since 2008, but this was no ordinary IKEA.
Okay, I wasn't that long in IKEA yesterday.
This was a dangerous anomaly that would come to be known as SCP-3008. Martin's strange answers in his interview were laughed off by his interviewing officers, who assumed he was either crazy or under the influence of something, but they caught the attention of an SCP Foundation field agent embedded in the precinct. The report was passed up the chain to a local site director, who approved a detachment of Foundation field operatives to look into Martin's case. While he was reluctant to lead the Foundation agents back to the offending IKEA, the Foundation can be extremely persuasive. His screams of, "Please, I'm begging you, don't take me back, don't make me go back," were noted but ultimately disregarded. When the SCP Foundation had triangulated the position of SCP-3008, which was indeed an active IKEA, the entire retail zone was closed and barricaded under the pretense of a severe black mold infestation. Armed Foundation personnel also arrived on the site shortly after, based on Martin's vague statements that there were creatures of some kind inside. Due to his deteriorating mental health, Martin was unable to provide a great deal of lucid information on the specific traits of SCP-3008, but one phrase he kept repeating was, "bigger on the inside." Once researchers were satisfied that Martin had delivered all the pertinent information
I kind of want to say that's what she said, but
he was able to, he was
it would be a
administered
bit.
Foundation amnestics to erase his memory of the last 3 years and return to his family. A cover story was formulated. Martin had been kidnapped and abused for 3 years by a mentally unbalanced stalker in downtown Carson. He'd been able to escape as said stalker took his own life out of guilt, a suicide that the Foundation expertly fabricated to make their cover story airtight. With the loose end of Martin Sims'
But they actually fabricated a. Okay, I mean, sure.
taken care of,
Just,
the true
I mean, that's the
observation of
SCP Foundation. They're not
SCP-3008 could
above
begin.
this.
A base set around the perimeter of the mysterious IKEA kept a 24-hour watch on the building, covering all potential entrances and exits. No exploratory missions had yet been approved by the Foundation Ethics Committee, so they first wanted to perform a week of external observation to see if any of the store's anomalous properties extended beyond the confines of the building. After a week of nothing, it appeared they did not. A local site director approved of the use of 20 disposable Class D personnel to explore the interior of SCP-3008. The D-Class operatives would be split into 4 squads of 5 men, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta Squad. Each would be assigned a different quadrant of the store and would deliver information back to the control team on site via a live audio and video link. 3 of the 4 teams upon entering the store reported nothing out of the ordinary. Neither the audio or video they were sending back indicated anything different from a standard IKEA store, from the flat-pack wardrobes to the Swedish meatballs. Team Delta, however, suddenly began experiencing a scrambled audio and video connection. Shortly after, communication with Team Delta dropped off entirely. They disappeared somewhere inside the store and haven't been seen since, with one notable exception. After the disappearance and the extraction of teams, Foundation researchers classified SCP-3008 as Euclid because its anomalous properties were at least confined to the interior of the store, and even then seemingly not the entire.
So, short explanation, because they just said this SCP was classified as Euclid, this entire SCP is just the IKEA experience. It is it kind of is lost in it for years. I mean, as I said, I was in IKEA actually yesterday, and I went there at like 6 p.m. and we were actually fast to go through. Like, we had a few things in mind, and we purposefully were like, okay, no, we have to keep going. No, don't take longer than we still took like over 2 hours. And like a friend of mine recently went there a bit more thorough, and they were in there for 6 hours. It's actually insanity. It's insanity. And especially how well those stores are designed to keep you there. It's mind-boggling.
Interior. The anomalous area within SCP-3008.
Oh yeah, I wanted to explain for those less familiar with SCP those classifications they had. They're like classifying it as Euclid.
Confined to the interior of the store and extraction of teams.
So there are a lot of classifications for the different types of SCP there are. The 3 most common are safe. Safe basically means safe doesn't mean it can't be dangerous. Safe does mean that it's basically very easy to contain. Like, you can put it in a drawer and it's fine, basically. Euclid is more difficult to contain, but overall manageable. But it needs a higher level of observation and like often people guarding it, that no one comes to harm. But it's not inherently hard to contain. It's just more precautions, basically. And then there is Kedar. Kedar requires an extreme amount of preparation for containment, regular checkups, whatever. So you have a lot of things to do to keep this in check, and you have to basically constantly improve of it. There are a few other different classifications. There's like terminated, like a few SCPs were so dangerous that they had to terminate it. Terminated means it doesn't exist anymore. Sometimes it terminated itself, so it just lost those abnormal abilities. And that a few others. I think there is. I cannot remember. It's basically an SCP that's used to contain other SCPs. So there's also a specific name for it. I forgot it. And there are a few more cryptic ones that are very rarely come up, and I don't even know myself.
teams, Foundation researchers classified SCP-3008 as Euclid because
Oh.
it's a
Thomlet. So Thomlet. That's the one that's the classification for SCPs that are used to contain other SCPs.
anomalous properties were at least confined to the interior of the store, and
Probably
even
mispronounced
then
it.
seemingly not the entire interior. The anomalous area within SCP-3008 became known as SCP-3008-1, and containment appeared to be 100% secure. There was no telling how many people had already gone missing in the store over the years, but the disappearances must be stopped. The Foundation maintained constant surveillance around the perimeter of SCP-3008, but it appeared they could prevent any further incidents by simply preventing other civilians from accessing the IKEA store. Martin's ravings about monsters were assumed to just be the product of delirium, until a surviving member of Delta Team suddenly reappeared. The date was November 3rd, 2011. It was a cold night, a few hours after what would have been closing time if the store were still active, and 7 months after the extraction teams had disappeared somewhere in the confines of SCP-3008. There had been no anomalous activity outside the store since the perimeter was first secured, and the Foundation researchers hadn't expected that to change until the last surviving member of Delta Team came barging out of the store's entrance. Startled field operatives were amazed to see him again, but they were even more amazed to see what was following him out of the store, repeating the same phrase: "The store is now closed, please exit the building." Despite the fact that the entity chasing the Delta Team survivor was wearing the yellow shirt and blue pants of an IKEA store employee, the being definitely was not human. It was around 7 feet tall with no visible face. The entity had grossly extended limbs, with each arm being around 5 or 6 feet long and ending in a huge oversized hand. The whole process was so sudden that the field agents present at the perimeter weren't able to save the Delta Team survivor, as the
I mean, granted. I mean, those things are probably quite horrifying if there's like a 7-foot humanoid creature just suddenly barging out after a screaming guy after 7 months of nothing happening anymore. I don't blame
entity
him.
reached forward with his freakishly long arms, grabbed him, and twisted his head off like a child with a doll. The field operatives present drew their weapons and peppered the entity with bullets. It would later be classified as SCP-3008-2. The being appeared to collapse and die from the physical trauma, at which point it and the body of the former Delta Team survivor were taken for an autopsy by Foundation researchers. There were no biological abnormalities of the body of the Delta Team survivor, so it did not appear that the anomalous properties of SCP-3008-1 had any effect on the physiology of its occupants. He was not malnourished despite being missing for months, and the contents of his stomach looked to be half-digested food consistent with the menu of a typical IKEA store restaurant. SCP-3008-2, on the other hand, raised
It's so funny. So basically, the gist of SCP-3008 is it's an infinitely big IKEA with people living in there. Actually, that's actually not the best video for it. Maybe they get to it later. And the store. So if you ever been to an IKEA, they have restaurants and everything, and sometimes even like snack machines, and those refill all the time. So basically, they manage the people living in there, or like not living, more like trapped in there, are managing to actually get by getting sustenance because the stuff just restocks by itself all the time. Which is immensely funny to me.
a number of perplexing biological questions. The autopsy revealed that the creature's clothes were actually part of its body, like an additional layer of skin.
Yeah, actually,
the creature
like,
lacked blood
that's a good point, Panda. Like, if we could have access to this infinitive regenerating food source that is the IKEA bar in the SCP-3008, or not bar, like a restaurant, like world hunger would be stopped. But I mean, it would be tough if you would be allergic to like the stuff in there. I've never really eaten like in the IKEA restaurant once. I didn't get the chance yesterday when I was there. It was a bit sad actually, but we had to get home. And the IKEA was closing. I didn't want to get trapped in there because, you know, those creatures. And yeah, but I think there's like the IKEA restaurants have like a big variety of different foods, so it's probably fine, I think. I'm allergic to food. I can only eat souls. I mean, you can eat the souls of the lost ones in the IKEA, so there's probably also plenty to eat for you there. Um, do souls actually taste differently? I've always wondered. Like, I cannot taste souls, but I do hope they taste like something, or especially like that it tastes different, because otherwise it would be kind of bland, really.
Any kind of vascular system. Even stranger, the entity didn't appear to have bones or internal organs, not even a brain or nervous system. It was a being made entirely of skin all the way to its core. How it was able to move, or even live for that matter, remains a mystery.
My chat lore is cold lost, so oh god. Maybe I shouldn't participate in your chat anymore.
Though when you work for the SCP Foundation, you learn to accept that some things will always remain unexplained. One thing was certain though, Martin Sims was right about his monsters. After the incident with Delta Team, the Foundation deemed that sending manned explorations into the heart of SCP-3008 was too much of a liability, and planned a series of drone-based reconnaissance missions into the anomaly. The first of these drones experienced connection issues and failed when attempting to venture into the IKEA's anomalous zone. However, after a lengthy period of trial and error, the Foundation was able to establish a more secure connection with its drones, even when deep into the SCP-3008-1 anomalous zone. It was only then that some of the most extraordinary discoveries were made. SCP-3008-1 seemed to break the laws of spatial reality, as the area of the IKEA's interior was at least an order of magnitude larger than its exterior. Just as Martin Sims had said, it was bigger on the inside, but just how much bigger? The Foundation has yet to find evidence of any physical terminators within the store that might indicate SCP-3008-1 has an endpoint, while an area of at least 10 kilometers squared has been uncovered in SCP-3008-1. It could, in theory, be infinite. Laser rangefinder tests, which are normally very reliable, have only given inconclusive results. Interestingly, the anomalous area doesn't have any clear visual differences from the rest of the IKEA store, except that it extends forever. An individual trapped within the confines of SCP-3008-1 wouldn't even realize they've entered an anomalous zone until they tried to locate an exit and leave, at which point they'd find they were already hopelessly lost. The geography of SCP-3008-1 does at least appear to be consistent, so people trapped within are theoretically able to retrace their steps and escape if they haven't already ventured too deep. According to data collected during the drone reconnaissance missions, SCP-3008-2, of which there appear to be a vast population, would wander the stores aimlessly during the day. They are unresponsive to the drone's presence and did not appear to be aggressive. While the physical descriptions of these creatures could vary slightly, they all follow the same overall trend. Clothes consistent with an IKEA uniform, no face, either seemingly too tall or too short, and limbs that are grossly out of proportion with their bodies. As the Foundation began sending drones deeper into SCP-3008-1, they found another incredible discovery. There was an unknown population of humans trapped inside IKEA's anomalous zone, and these people had used the IKEA furniture around them to create entire settlements and towns within the store. Cool. There were several of
actually, when I first heard about this SCP like a couple years ago, I was thinking to myself, damn, like people living in their building forts defending against the anomalous creatures in there. This would be such a great survival game. And actually, there's currently one in development exactly about this. And it's like a bit also horror survival game, a bit like Forest, I assume. I have it on my wish list, and I know it's co-op, or it's gonna be co-op. So if it will come out eventually, I'll probably try to recruit a few people, and then we will venture through the IKEA. It's at least my plan. So it's probably gonna be quite fun.
These towns, all of which seem to cohabitate peacefully. Even Foundation personnel found this development in their research to be truly extraordinary. Since SCP-3008 was first identified, there have been only 14 civilian escapes. Some had been trapped inside.
Oh yeah, because they mentioned it just now. All those people, like this, the different settlements, there are hundreds, maybe thousands of people in there. And they all live together in harmony. Probably because they have like a common enemy and no food shortages, because the stuff just reappears again. But I kind of like the thought of it, that the people just, live together in harmony. They get along. They don't try to outplay each other until the Fire Nation attack.
For months, others.
Imagine a firebender going into this IKEA. They just burn down the whole place. What would actually happen if you try set fire to it? Like, most of the IKEA stuff is like wood or like those fake wood that's basically just pressed together sawdust. I don't know the English word for it. And in German, it's called Pressspanplatte, which has to be one of the most German words there is. But the eternal flame. Yeah, back to Witcher. The eternal flame. Yeah, but I imagine if you really set fire to it, the whole place gonna like it's like like the California wildfire. No, excuse me. That's mean. That's horribly mean. I apologize. Oh, that was a bit too dark. No, but seriously, like this stuff gonna burn like hell there. If you set a big enough Lux speaking German, yeah, I mean I could speak German more often. Actually, someone suggested that I could like try to integrate this more into my stream, but I'm not completely sure how. I need to think about it, like trying to insert a few German words here and there, or I don't know completely yet how to. Well, if I think of something of like any suggestion, I'm open for them. But as of right now, I'm not entirely sure how. Eventually though, it has potential for something. Although I will not be like this over dramatized German that's like Schmetterling and Mähdrescher, if you know those videos. I'm not gonna do that. That is most of the time. Sometimes it's funny, granted, but believe it or not, people who speak German don't just yell all the time. I know, hard to believe.
Had been in there for years, some far longer than Martin's 3-year stint.
German
While every
noises.
one of these escapees has eventually been released back to their home, after a liberal application of amnestics and a proper cover story has been devised, the Foundation interviewed each of them extensively first. According to each of these escapees, the people trapped inside the IKEA have built an entirely new society across the various settlements. Contrary to the Lord of the Flies expectations of a group of people isolated and afraid, there's immense cooperation between the trapped civilians. The food in the several IKEA restaurants in SCP-3008-1 mysteriously replenishes while nobody's there, so there's no threat of starving. And the automatic turning on and off of the lights forms as a rudimentary kind of day and night cycle. Nighttime, however, is when things get dangerous, as the SCP-3008-2 entities...
What? Please, Lux, lean into the stigma. You're breaking my... What? Should I yell like that and talk like that all the time? Is that what you want? Hello, Bolas. Hi, welcome. Love these videos. Yeah, I love them too. I wanted to watch them like basically since the start. I wanted to do something like that. Oh no, the chickens are raining down. I came in an odd time. Next stream is gonna be like a German lesson. I just yell all the time, and it's not actually German. I just yell in Dutch. Nobody will know the difference if they don't speak either German or Dutch. If I just speak Dutch aggressive enough, it sounds like German. From here we can only rise. From where we can only rise. From here we can only rise. Is this like a nod to like an SCP? Because I know there are a few of them.
Which are known to the people.
From here we can only rise. Or is this like... I'm always so paranoid when it comes to SCP, or because I've seen a few other like streamers and such reacting to SCP kind of stuff, and some people just write random stuff and then turns out it's part of an SCP.
People inside, as the staff, become extremely hostile after dark. Aggressive hordes of the staff swarm the settlements at night, repeating, "This door is now closed, please exit the building." The civilians inside are usually able to repel these attacks with minimal casualties, but the constant war of attrition slowly wears down those inside. The bodies of the creatures also need to be removed from the area after each attack, as the presence of corpses or even parts of corpses has been known to heighten the ferocity of the next night's attack. During the day, the staff return to a docile and unresponsive state,
Bigger than it
though they'll
seems.
still defend themselves violently if anyone dares to attack. Over the course of the interviews with the 14 escapees, Foundation researchers
It's bigger on the inside. It's bigger on the inside. It's bigger on the inside.
were able to answer another of their key questions. How had so many people gone missing in the store for so long without being noticed? But the answer they received only raised many more unsettling queries. According to the escapees, there were people inside the settlements that, despite being otherwise of entirely sound mind and standard intelligence, seemed to lack very common knowledge that even a child should know. For example, some of them weren't aware of the international
Panda, goddamn. I mean, it's technically true that there could be kids in there, but still. And I heard it from Lego Star Wars YouTube video. The Empire officer was giving a speech. I don't honestly no idea about Lego Star Wars. Okay. Okay, as I said, just a bit paranoid here. Maybe it is like an insider
Very
or an
common
SCP. I
knowledge
don't
that
know.
even
They
a
can never
child
be too
should
sure.
know. For example, some of them weren't aware of the International Space Station orbiting the Earth, or stranger still, the existence of the Statue
Here we
of
can
Liberty.
only rise.
This led the researchers to a frightening conclusion.
Okay, I have to make a little confession here. Please don't hate me for it. Actually, never watched Star Wars. It's true. I never watched Star Wars. Main reason for this is that I'm not particularly fond of sci-fi stuff. I mean, I know the memes and I know the plot of Star Wars, and that the prequels were apparently not as good as the first 3 movies. But yeah, what I did watch was, not completely, but parts of it, like this animated series, I think Clone Wars. I did watch this occasionally because sometimes when I turned on the TV when I was younger, it was just on the television at the moment. So
SCP the existence of the Statue of Liberty. This led the researchers to a frightening conclusion. SCP-3008-1 may not only be a nexus point of multiple IKEA stores in our dimension, it could
you shall be converted. Okay, I'd like to see you try.
be connected to IKEAs in every dimension where IKEAs exist. While it only abducts a handful of people from each store over an extended period of time, it suddenly becomes clear how this SCP was able to trap so many people without detection over such a long period of time, which in turn led to an even more terrifying revelation. The SCP Foundation may not have SCP-3008-1 as contained as they thought. It might even be tucked away in an IKEA store somewhere near you, just waiting for you to visit. After all, there's always room for one more.
Actually, because they mentioned, it's also a very cool part I like about this SCP, that this is like, hello Saitama, that this is like a multidimensional thing, which I kind of relate to, since it's also like, basically I'm also a multidimensional or multi-world traveler, thanks to my, I think I never talked about this part of my lore actually, like the little chain or little necklace I have around my neck actually is not just for decoration. It's actually like a crystal that allows me to travel to different worlds, which is why I, for example, like travel through worlds with goblins and elves and orcs and takes necklace. That's not that easy. It's not that easy. Besides, it only works for me. It's like it's similar to like biometric coded. Sorry about that. You cannot do much with it. It looks nice though. But yeah, it's basically little lore drop here on the point. Got Lego Star Wars Triumph of the Empire YouTube video if you wanna know where it's from. Here you can I might check it out later. Thanks though. Now I was thinking maybe here. Traps Lux here forever. Oh, trust me, I do have other ways. It's just the main way, but there are other ways. Some well-traveled as I am, I do have my ways actually. How do I think I survived this long? Like, I mean, if a regular Joe Schmo just walks around, traveling through like hostile orc territories, and just they don't get out unscathed, if they get out at all. And since I'm not a particularly good fighter, they're like I have my ways to get around without even without the necklace if push comes to shove. Although it's the easiest ways. Orcs can be cute, but it depends on which orcs you're talking about. Some are friendly and nice and maybe even cute. Not every orc though. Like it depends highly on which kind of in which role you are. Not all orcs are the same. Some orcs are like related to tasty green pea. Not even all orcs are green. Fun fact. Like there are also reddish orcs too. But yeah. But yeah, little lore drop here from my side. Like this is what the chain is for. I really need to do a proper lore video at some point. At some point. I have a plan, but didn't get to it. Red orcs are spicy. Wasn't there like a new rule set for D&D? Or was this just like a meme I saw that orcs are now Mexican? Basically. Oh, which is next? Yeah, I mean, I saw this. I saw like a few YouTube shots. I don't know if this was a joke or anything. It could be just a joke that they were just trying to pull out. Maybe an inside joke. I'm not sure. But I saw a couple of pictures of orcs being Mexicans now. Which, I mean, I don't know if it really fits, but if you have to give certain races, like certain fantasy races, nationality, it's actually kind of interesting to think about. Like dwarfs, like for example, they're Scandinavian related. Scandinavian, maybe Germanic, also orcs. Elves are more like Irish, Gaelic kinda, or maybe also fairies too. No, stuff like this. Mermaids and such, I always kind of associate with Greece or like the Mediterranean. It's kind of fun to think about this. Dwarfs are usually Scottish, at least in accent. Scottish or Scandinavian, I'd say. But yeah, Scottish too. But I think also Scandinavian is quite fitting for dwarfs. Kind of lost the plot there. But Scottish fits too. Yes. But yeah, I kind of think don't give me more accents to learn. You can be a Scottish dwarf. It's absolutely fine. I mean, a lot of Scotland was populated by like Vikings at some point, or like they raided there and settled down there. So it's, I mean, all of England and Ireland, but still. And actually Normandy, parts of Sicily. I think some even made it to Constantinople. The Russians too, like the Kievan Rus. Anyway, the dwarves can absolutely be Scottish as well. I mean, Scottish mate. No, mate is laddie. I think the Scotsman is a laddie. Oi, laddie. I love the Scottish accent. Not particularly good at it. But if you want to try, you could always try learning German accent properly. I'll teach you. I just have to watch my streams more. Although I don't think my accent is that harsh. I hope so, at least. You can never complain about my German ever again. I never claimed to have a good Scottish accent. I never claimed to have. And I will absolutely critique your German accent in the future too. You cannot stop me. You don't have the power to do so. Okay. Next SCP. SCP-035, the Possessive Mask, is also one of the classics, I'd say. It's a bit more creepy. But I think the video is... I haven't seen this video. I know the SCP, but I don't know this video. Please do give Panda as much grief as possible. Lol. I mean, I guess I'm doing a good job. Proud of myself.
The SCP Foundation does their best to live up to their famous namesake. They secure and contain anomalies and monsters from all around the world, or sometimes even off-world, and protect the public from the dangers that these strange entities might pose. However,
So
despite their efforts to maintain security and keep their subjects under lock and key, there are sometimes creatures so clever, so devious, and so determined to escape their captivity and wreak havoc on the world that even the SCP Foundation struggles to keep them from getting free. One example is SCP-035, or the Possessive Mask. SCP-035 is one of the most dangerous test subjects in SCP Foundation custody, and its mere presence at the Foundation has resulted in untold damage, death, and destruction. It seems innocent enough to the untrained eye. The mask, which resembles a classic white porcelain comedy mask, though it occasionally changes its expression to tragedy, has been in existence since at least the 1800s. In the late 19th century, the
Jim
Foundation
Carrey's
discovered the
back.
mask in a
Oh
sealed
no.
crypt beneath an abandoned home in Venice. It is unknown how it got there, or how the Foundation knew to look for it. If there was ever an
The thing is, it's kind of... I don't know if they get into it. This is kind of like an opera mask, if I remember correctly. Actually, I've been to... based on like one of those Venetian opera masks specifically. Actually been to Venice last year. First time. It's actually quite an experience. Maybe I'll talk about it at another point, but it was immensely fun. Maybe I maybe have to go there eventually again at some point.
an explanation for its discovery, it has long since been removed or redacted from the Foundation's archives. You're probably wondering, how can a simple mask leave multiple seasoned Foundation employees dead? Well, like everything at the SCP Foundation, this mask is not what it seems. There is a reason its classification is Keter, a designation that refers to an entity that's excessively difficult to contain, and it couples this difficulty with a pronounced hostility towards human life, and the ability to cause widespread destruction in the event of a containment breach. These are the qualities that the poor unfortunate souls assigned to guard SCP-035 would come to understand all too well. The possessive mask is a parasitic entity, constantly seeking out a host willing to put it on. Any human being in the mask's proximity experiences a sudden,
I'm curious if the mask might be inspired by a similar story. The mask, wait, I kind of black out right now. What? Yeah, okay, yeah, now I got it. Actually, a good question. I mean, I don't think the mask is inspired by this story, particularly like the SCP story. Jim Carrey story, which came with the comic boom series. Yeah. I mean, I had it at the tip of my tongue, but just I couldn't finish the thought, basically.
unexplainable urge to put it on, and once they do, there's no going back. SCP Foundation research has determined that once a host has put on the mask, their brain waves are replaced with an alternative pattern, this one coming from the mask, rendering the host effectively brain dead. Once the host's brain function has been eliminated, the mask takes over, piloting their body and even speaking through them. However,
That's
the
so
mask can
horrifying.
only occupy a host for a small amount of time before the body begins to decay and decompose, eventually rotting away completely, leaving nothing but desiccated flesh and bones where there once was a person. SCP-035 is
What a
capable
horrifying
of
way of
possessing
scrolling.
any humanoid being, whether that's an actual human being or a lifeless humanoid shape. Despite all their research, the SCP Foundation unknowingly gave the mask all the tools and resources it needed to break containment and leave a trail of bodies in its wake. For a time, the mask was given host privileges, meaning that it was purposely allowed to occupy a host in order to speak with the scientists studying it. In order to avoid murky ethical issues, the host was usually something inanimate like a mannequin or a statue. These conditions, however unsettling, allowed the researchers to carry out interviews with the consciousness housed inside the mask, in the hope of beginning to understand it and its motivations. However, SCP-035 lost all access to its host privileges after it almost pulled off an unprecedented, shocking, and nearly catastrophic escape attempt. In its early days at the facility, when it was still allowed host privileges, it was contained in a triple-locked room and monitored by several research personnel. These were experienced researchers who had been with the Foundation for a minimum of 5 years each, an unusually long tenure in such a dangerous and mentally corrosive line of
I just wanted to say, like, 5 years for the SCP Foundation, it's a long
These research staff members
Normally
were
you'd die
thought to
way
be the
before
most
it.
capable of handling interactions with the mask and be able to resist its attempts at manipulation. Unfortunately, these assumptions were naive and seriously underestimated the mask's power. Research on the mask indicates that the mask is incredibly intelligent and a skilled manipulator. It has a photographic memory, intelligence that would rank it in the 99th percentile of humans, and the ability to incite dramatic changes in the behavior and people that it talks to. One particularly infamous interview between the entity and an unnamed doctor at the Foundation suggested that the mask may even possess telepathic abilities. The mask was able to give details about the doctor's life that no one else was privy to, including knowledge of an affair that his wife was having. Following the interview, the doctor suffered a psychotic break and committed suicide just 24 hours later. The mask is able to use its superior intelligence, charismatic personality, and mind-reading abilities to get inside the heads of those it speaks with. It will pull out any and all psychological stops to get what it wants, leaving broken minds and spirits in its wake. It was really only a matter of time before it used this skill set to its advantage and attempted to escape its confinement. The day of the escape attempt was like any other. The research staff, a team of 3 intelligent, experienced men, checked into the facility, measured the conditions of the mask's containment unit, and began the process of interviewing the mask like normal. Its motions were slow and looked to require great effort, as its current host was beginning to degrade beyond use. The mask was attached to the blank face of a mannequin, and corrosive black liquid could be seen oozing from its eye and mouth holes. This liquid is excreted by the mask at a near constant rate, and it's thought to be at least partially responsible for the accelerated decay of the host bodies. In spite of the entity's unsettling, nightmarish appearance, it was just another day's work for the men assigned to monitor SCP-035. And so they carried on with their daily routine. Everything was going according.
I mean, this fact alone, this must have been absolutely traumatizing or mind-numbing at some point if you constantly
Dr. Jones began to
witness
behave
it.
erratically. He demanded that his fellow scientists leave him alone with the mask for a while and allow him to engage in a private conversation with it. It is unknown what exactly the two spoke about while the other 2 scientists were absent, as the security footage captured had no sound. However, several minutes into the conversation in the footage, Dr. Jones can be seen dissolving into a fit of tears, laying on the ground and shaking with sobs as the mask dispassionately watches. He then climbs onto his knees, begging the mask for something, before he embraces it. He holds the mannequin in his arms for 5 straight minutes, weeping again before they separate.
Sneeze was
After this
coming.
disturbing emotional display, Dr. Jones brought the other scientists back into the room with him. What happened next is still uncertain, but there are a few things that we know for sure. The other scientists began to speak with the mask. In later interviews, the other scientists were bordering on incoherent babbling about various traumas from their lives. One repeatedly referred to a drunk driving accident where a dear friend was killed, and he was at fault. Another simply cried out for his mother again and again. Whatever the mask said to them, it was enough to completely destroy their mental health.
It's interesting because there's a parasite that controls the host body known as Ophiocordyceps. Okay, I'm not aware of this. Like, I know there is like a fungi that does this. A very fun guy. No, like a fungi that I think that only affects ants, as far as I'm aware, and basically like makes them turns them into zombies, like in The Last of Us. It should be the one. Mainly takes over ants. I mean, I heard there's also a parasite too that does something similar, but I definitely know about the fungi that does this. Actually, kinda would be maybe interesting to play Plague Inc. Evolved at some point. Could also be kind of fun. But I don't know if this might be a bit dull. There's a worm, I think, too. It's actually insane. Like, I mean, it's insane how there are like other sicknesses and illnesses that can cause people to behave differently. Maybe not as drastic, but it's insane how much this can affect a person, really. Plague Inc. is getting a sequel about what happens after. Really? Hmm. Wasn't aware of this. This could actually be interesting. It's the tale of what happened afterwards. Kind of fitting, isn't it? Oh, might need to check this out later.
After the two scientists had been emotionally devastated by the mask, Dr. Jones escalated the situation further. Dr. Jones removed the mask from the decaying mannequin body, and shocking everyone who had later reviewed the security footage, placed it onto his own face. Once the mask was in place, the security footage ends. At the command of the mask,
would you be able to resist the mask? I mean, personally, I'd consider myself quite a stubborn person. But if by this level of intelligence, can probably like get and make out like my insecurities and like puncture right there. I'm not sure. I would like to say I could resist, but as fate itself, nothing can control me except myself. Besides the like the human you sit your panda form sits on has a mask already, so it could be a bit difficult. I guess a panda could wear a mask. But yeah, I like to think of myself that I would be able to resist it. Yeah, I know that I wasn't sure if that is death or just part of you because you are death. Wasn't entirely sure anymore. I beg your pardon. Beg your pardon, or is this just like another word for excuse me? Because I beg for your pardon. Please, forgive me. But yeah, as I said, I would like to say I could resist the mask, but probably given enough time, it might get to me.
which was now speaking through Dr. Jones. The other two men switched off all security camera monitoring SCP-035's containment facility. The mask, piloting the body of Dr. Jones like a horrible fleshy puppet, made its way through the facility, avoiding.
Directly speaking, if it is unable to be resisted, it could be due to shedding a neurotoxin or pheromones like substance. Yeah, absolutely true. But I'm not completely aware if you're completely unable to resist it, or if you just have to have a very high mental capacity, or be maybe even more intelligent that it is, which is theoretically possible but very unlikely. Quick lore drop. I am Fate. My BFF dev gave me a corpse to play with, hence the band. Ah, okay, so that's how it is.
Avoiding detection until it reached the exit doors, where it was finally stopped by a team of over a dozen security guards. Knowing the dangers of touching the mask, all Foundation employees involved in the recontainment of SCP-035 refused to remove it from Dr. Jones' face. Instead, he was placed in the locked room with the mask still
Like making
on,
hypothesis
left
for
alone
this.
to be
Yeah,
observed
absolutely
over
get
the
it.
security
Absolutely get
cameras
it.
until his body had decomposed beyond use. His body paced back and forth in the cell for days, flesh rotting and dropping away only until sinew and bone remained. Only when the bones began to turn black and brittle, crumbling apart into dust, did the body finally stop moving. His family was notified. The mask was carefully removed from what was left of his body, and his remains were destroyed. The other two scientists involved in the SCP-035 escape attempt were terminated, and their files destroyed. After this incident, a few more failed escape attempts, and the acknowledgement of the devastation that could have been caused if the mask had made its way out into the general population, SCP-035 lost its host privileges altogether. Several research staff protested this decision.
I mean, compared to some other SCPs out there, the mask alone could probably not cause that much of a damage. Like, it will obviously be devastating for the people it affected or attached to. But in the grand scope of things, it, you know, it would be an absolute menace to say the least, but it cannot like cause mass destruction, I think. At least not by itself. I mean, it could control someone and then fire off nukes or whatever. But by itself, not really. Still highly
insisting that
dangerous,
there was
of
more
course.
to be learned from speaking with the entity, and citing valuable information that it had given about other SCPs. However, the risk was determined to considerably outweigh the potential reward, and the request to reinstate 035's host privileges were denied. Several staff members went so far as to erupt into violent outbursts on 035's behalf, attacking their supervisors who refused to provide the mask with a new host, clawing at them with animalistic rage. Any staff members that submitted a
Not to mention, yeah, taking people of power over. Yeah, that would entirely be possible. I made a game outline for SCP type game. Game 1 is about a secret lab you got to escape from, but Action Man, a human turned into an action toy, hunts you down. It actually kind of reminds me. That sounds so stupid. It actually reminds me of a dream I had at one point. I've actually been thinking about like making, besides my tail shorts and, you know, the weird furry one I made recently, I was thinking about like talking about a few weird dreams I had in the past because hell, there are like a few doozies. One of them was basically, or part of it was that me and my parents were captured by an old man, and like he had guards, but his guards were not normal people, they were like teddy bears. And the teddy bears had full-sized spears, like lances or halberds. It was so stupid. And yeah. I actually could make them into shorts too. It could be kind of funny, but if I properly prepare them.
A request to reinstate said privileges were considered a security threat and reassigned to a different SCP, or in some cases, terminated. Any staff member who had direct contact with SCP-035 was also terminated, in order to avoid the risk of any more staff-aided escape attempts. The mask is now kept in a hermetically sealed glass case, and there is a psychologist on call to provide assistance to anyone guarding it, in case of adverse effects on their mental health from the mask's presence. Personnel that work around the mask, even in its current dormant state, experience frequent violent outbursts and a higher rate of suicide. Even without a host, the mask's corrosive effects have spread across its containment facility. The walls of the room
D&D SCP hunters tracking down cursed items to keep the world safe. That's actually, I don't know if stuff like this exists, but if a campaign like this already exists, or like a pre-made rule set for this. But it sounds actually extremely awesome.
have begun to secrete the same black liquid that emanates from the mask, which tests have revealed to be highly contaminated human blood that damages the structural integrity of the walls following prolonged contact. This blood has begun to form patterns on the walls, spelling out words and phrases in Italian, Latin, Greek, and Sanskrit, as well as depicting drawings of ritual sacrifice and mutilation. Staff members also report hearing unintelligible whispering and horrifying high-pitched laughter when in proximity to the mask. Further exposure to the mask results in migraines, hemorrhaging around the eyes, mouth, and nose, and an eventual psychotic break. Between the corrosive substance appearing on the walls and the physical
There is a
and psychological damage
SCP-5E
to employees,
conversion.
SCP-035
Yeah, not
is
surprised.
becoming increasingly difficult to contain, and there are debates among staff as to whether the entity can
Probably neurotoxin. I wouldn't say it's entirely confirmed, but it's highly possible. But I mean, neurotoxins would neurotoxins would need to be, it's in some way ingested into the body. And since this thing is in a glass box, I assume hermetically sealed, then there would not even be like a gas or anything that could like come out and mess with your head. Like, I think it could be like sound, maybe? Like messing with your brain kind of stuff. I don't think neurotoxins per se.
And in fact, be contained at all. As soon as possible, SCP-035 will be moved into a new containment facility, and its previous cell will be isolated from the rest of the Foundation's property and destroyed for the safety of all involved. We can only hope that the new containment procedures are more effective than the last ones, and that this mask never makes its way into the world again. If it does, who knows how many lives it will claim. In the meantime, if you ever come across a strange mask and feel a nearly uncontrollable urge to put it on, ignore the whispered pleas to just try it. Ignore the echoing laughter and the sensation of something older and more powerful than you can imagine rummaging through your deepest, darkest secret thoughts. Turn around and run as fast as you can in the other direction. You'll be glad that you did.
What? Run? Perhaps sound beyond the spectrum of human hearing. I mean, it's possible. But, I mean, there are definitely frequencies that can mess with your head. So, you know, if you do it right, and I assume he would be intelligent enough to do so, I could see it. But, you know, it's SCP, so everything's possible, really. So, next we go to something that I already know, but I want to share it anyway. And this is about the SCP-001. SCP-001 is not one SCP because there is officially or publicly known no SCP-001, but there are a lot of propositions what it could be, and a lot of theories and whatnot. There's like one with a guardian angel that burns everyone and basically guards the entrance to the Garden Eden. And then there are a couple of them. But this one is my personal favorite, and it's, in my opinion, the scariest. Like the implications of it. This is SCP-001 When Day Breaks. An absolutely horrifying scenario. And if this would actually happen, we're all dead. Like, we are all, like, there's no chance. There's absolutely no chance.
You've been walking for days. Your body aches. You're dripping with sweat from
Gotta
the
switch
heat
to my
of the
left to
sun
BRB.
bearing
Alright.
down overhead. And yet you're wrapped up in layers upon layers of clothing. Even your face is covered. And you're wearing thick black goggles so that not a single centimeter of your body is exposed. Your journey has been long, and you feel like you might die from exhaustion or from overheating due to these multiple layers of clothes. But dying is better than being exposed. You saw it happen when your entire team changed. The light cannot be trusted, not even for a fraction of a second. It's been like this for years. You've learned and survived through painful experience.
Hello, Heidi. Welcome to the stream. It's just a scenario. We're not all gonna die. It's not really real. It's just saying, if this would be real, we're all dead. Like, nobody would survive. Like, I purposefully planned it to like get like gradually worse, more scary, and we're like on the third video now. How are you doing, Heidi? I hope you're doing well. I hope you enjoy the videos.
Many of those you used to know cannot say the same. You've been alone for so long. You might have given up all hope if it wasn't for the distress signal coming from a nearby SCP Foundation containment facility, Site 46. Any kind of survivors would be better than nothing, no matter what kind of sorry shape they were in, as long as they were still human. You find your way to an opening in the side of a mountain and slide into the cave, hoping you weren't spotted. The whole world is crawling with those things now. You can't let yourself be seen. As you trudge down the cave towards the entrance, you see what looks like a huge black snail trail splattered on the ground, leading into the facility. You try to avoid it and press on. You don't even need a key card to enter. The door has been left ajar. The facility reeks of those things, but you can't see any of them. You just hope they've moved on and left some human survivors in their wake. The place looks abandoned. Every step you take echoes through the empty halls. When you find that the elevator's out, you take the stairs all the way down to level B5, Keter Containment. Lucky for you, it seems all the cells are empty now. The horrors that were kept inside of them have all long since flown the coop. You keep following that slimy black trail until you find an abandoned office. There are no people here anymore. Just a broken barricade, some empty medicine bottles, and a bucket that the people inside the office had apparently been using as a toilet. You breathe a sigh of disappointment at finding no one alive here, but you're at least relieved to be out of the sun. You can finally remove your jacket and head wrap. With your
Every gamer and VTuber ever. Thank God I'm out of the sun.
uncovered eyes, you notice that a nearby computer terminal is still powered up. You sit down at the desk and turn on the monitor. Because of the emergency procedures put into place in a K-class scenario like this, safeguards no longer apply. You can access all the information you need, up to and including finding out what actually happened. In the dull glow of a nearby emergency light, you see a dark shape slumping through the halls in shadow. You tense up, then exhale as it slithers off into an adjoining hall. You're safe, for now. The terminal has finally loaded and authenticated your access. You're staring at the file for SD Lock's proposal for SCP-001 when day breaks. It's the only name you can give the apocalypse your world is currently experiencing. This is one of the only anomalies in the entire history of the SCP Foundation to be given the Apollyon Containment class, meaning containment is truly impossible. SCP-001 is the most dangerous enemy that the Foundation and planet Earth has ever faced. It's always been the principle of the SCP Foundation to battle in the dark so that the civilian world can thrive in the light. But now the light has become the enemy. Anyone exposed to any amount of sunlight for even the briefest period of time is subjected to the effects of SCP-001, and those effects are beyond horrifying. The SCP Foundation Administrator released an urgent memo telling Foundation personnel to make their way to Site-19 at all costs, because they need all the help they can get. Those exposed to SCP-001 in the process are no longer considered human. Their new designation is SCP-001-A. These new entities are to be avoided at all costs. But in case of emergencies, the Administrator says it is permitted to cut off parts of your transformed comrades and eat them to avoid starvation.
Yeah, let's eat those melted humans. I would rather starve.
Memo
I would rather
states
starve.
that no attempt should be made to kill them, since you won't succeed. You'll just put yourself at risk. When the sun changed and became
Already melted.
SCP-001, it instantly affected 6.8 billion innocent people. The second the visible light touched them, whether it was from the sun itself or even reflected off the moon, their bodies liquefied, melting like candle wax into puddles of living gelatinous slime. This effect isn't isolated to humans either. Any biological entity exposed to sunlight immediately underwent the same irreversible melting process into SCP-001-A, and the horror had only just begun. People transformed into SCP-001-A will remain shades of their former intelligence and personality. They may even try to will their new gooey mass into a shape resembling their original form. However, these individuals will lose their sense of self if they come into contact with other instances of SCP-001-A. When they come together, 001-A instances will bond on a molecular level, wading up into horrific giant blobs with only one purpose: integrating more matter into their bodies. That's why they have to be avoided at all costs. You continue to search the computer terminal for answers. Perhaps there was some kind of contingency plan put in place for this, some way to reverse the effects, or at least escape the nightmare Earth has become. Instead, you find a series of attachments linked to the SCP-001 file, detailing what seems to be the last days of the people who'd barricaded themselves in the facility. Most prominent among these were researcher Dr. Logan Igata, her wife Ari, a security officer named Commander Anad, and a few others. Dr. Igata had locked herself in the office where she recorded her
I mean, if you imagine even the most powerful and probably wealthiest and most influential organization that specializes in this stuff is absolutely
final messages to the
powerless.
world. In the first audio
Horrifying.
log, Dr. Igata
And I
and
don't
her
want, like,
companions seemed afraid,
being
but
liquefied as
hopeful
soon as
that there may be
the sun
some way
even
out of this
touches even the
situation.
moon
Dr.
reflection.
Igata reported that most of the workers at the facility were transformed during the initial event. Their melted bodies had fused outside the facility, and now they were trying to bust their way back in. The defenses had held so far, though, and they seemed confident they would hold long enough for them to figure out a way to escape this awful situation. You open the second attachment, an incident report, and realize things may not have been as hopeful as Dr. Igata let on. She reported hearing the huge mass of melted creatures hammering on the door outside again, begging for them to come out and experience the sun with them. They wanted desperately to add to their ever-growing biomass. In order to experiment with what exactly would happen, they sent out one of their few remaining D-classes wearing a full protective suit. He didn't last long. The huge creature grabbed him with tentacles made of reconstituted flesh. It began ripping off his protective suit as he screamed for mercy. It was a monster made of dozens of people and animals. He could never overpower it. The second the sun touched his skin, he melted away and was absorbed by the great mass holding him in place. Guns were ineffective against these SCP-001-A super entities. Fire would do no good. It seemed that extremely low temperatures were the only way to slow the immense blobs down. And even then,
That didn't stop him.
not permanently.
Yes.
There was one ray of light in the darkness. The site director had a secret tunnel underneath his office, connected to a tram that could hopefully take them directly to Site-19 without risk of SCP-001 exposure. It was a good plan, and by far the best option they had available to them. But the best plans often don't work in practice. You open the next attachment on the terminal. This time, it's a video feed. You can actually see Dr. Logan Igata, and she looks harrowed by what she's experienced. As it turns out, while the others, including her wife Ari, attempted to exit through the tunnel, something had happened. Dr. Igata heard Ari's voice over her radio, but there was something wrong with it. It was too low, too guttural, and filled with gurgles. SCP-001 had gotten her. She was changed. The monster from above had crawled in through the ceiling. It had taken them, all of them, and converted them into something less than human. Any hope of escape now seemed gone. Ari told Dr. Igata that it would.
I gotta say, one thing that always gets me the most in those in stories like this is when two people who love each other, like Dr. Ari and Dr. Igata, like basically one of them dies, or even worse in this case. It always, this is honestly something that always makes me incredibly sad.
Would be fine, that it was such a bright, beautiful day outside, and she was wasting it locked up inside that office. She tormented Dr. Igata with shared memories of their life and love, of that day in the sun where they bound their lives together. The monster with our.
It mentioned all things organic become a part of SCP, of the SCP, but what about constitutes organic? Will consume soil and eventually become the whole planet? It's actually an interesting thought. Like, I never thought of it. I mean, always assumed that it's basically flesh related, like everything that's organic mass in the sense of it is based on, like, it has flesh. Like, I don't think, because grass is organic too, I don't think grass starts to melt. At least not that I'm aware of. But I just, Yeah, of course. I gotta ask hard questions. Absolutely right, Rock. Yep. As I said, this is my theory, but it's absolutely valid because in this case, the term organic is the wrong one.
Ari's voice.
On the other hand, it kind of makes sense that it's not explained deeper because, you know, lore-wise, who's gonna study this if all of them are dead?
Everything it could to try to convince her to give up and join them, but she wasn't ready to go just yet. You look away from the screen when you hear a sound in the corner. You see a dark puddle of some unknown substance, and then some skeletal hands rising out of it. The hands are pulling themselves out of the puddle, followed by a skeletal face covered in matted hair. You have to stop yourself from screaming until a flash from a nearby security light makes the figure disappear. It's a normal puddle once again.
Good
Your
soup,
mind
yeah.
is playing tricks on you.
Delish.
You open the next attachment, another video, and see that Dr. Igata's condition has deteriorated. She looked pale, frantic, and thin. She was using a knife to draw her own blood onto a piece of blood-stained parchment covered in strange symbols. Igata ranted about her theory. What if 001 took the minds and bodies of its victims, but not their souls? Through performing some kind of arcane blood ritual, she hoped to at least rescue and keep the soul of Ari, even if her mind and body were lost. You open the next attachment. It seemed that Agata's ritual worked, but not in the way she hoped. The twisted soul of Ari, driven mad by SCP-001, had taken over the file. It begins corrupting the text of the SCP-001 file into crazy ranting about how futile it is to fight. It then cuts to an even more frightening video feed. Dr. Igata, in her sleep, tossing and turning in a makeshift bed in the corner of her office. The camera approaches her, in first person, and lingers over her sleeping body. An oily skeletal hand reaches past the camera and runs its fingers through Dr. Igata's hair. It's that exact same hand you saw reaching out of that black puddle earlier. You must have seen Ari's lingering spirit. With a lump in your throat,
Oh my god.
you open the next attachment and watch the video. You see Dr. Igata, now truly broken. She'd been haunted by Ari's demonic spirit for a long time now, and it has clearly taken its toll. She is waving around a hand.
Trying to save the person you love the most. At least trying to save their soul. And then basically condemning it even further, and it's hunting you now.
While she
Oh my
sleeps.
god.
She now believes there's only one way to escape, but not like this. She doesn't want the gun to draw attention to her body. She doesn't want to become part of that mass, even if she is dead. She opens a drawer on her desk she's recording at and places the gun inside. Dr. Igata then apologizes to her loved ones who are likely long since dead or assimilated and turns off the recording for the last time. In that moment, you realize there's a single drawer in the desk in front of you. When you reach forward and open it, you see the same handgun Dr. Igata was holding is laying inside. You pick it up and study it, weighing your options. Perhaps there truly is no other way out. Then you see an update on the file. One more attachment has been added while you were studying the gun. You feel your heart pounding in your chest as you reach forward and open the attachment. The text has been changed entirely. The file on SCP-001 is now a poem, an ode to the sun and to the love they shared. Then a video file spontaneously opens itself on the screen. It's a video of you, shot from behind. You see those oily, skeletal hands reaching for you in the dark, just like they did with Dr. Igata.
As this...
In that moment, you panic and fire the gun behind you, hoping to scare off the spirit.
would mess me up
the
too.
sound of the gunshots attracts something far worse. The immense blob of screaming, melted flesh charges towards the office. You try to barricade the door, but it is not enough.
Oh no, the cow
flesh
has a gun.
seeps and bursts through and grabs you in its meaty tentacles. You scream and try to escape, but it won't save you.
Oh.
Nothing will save you. The flesh carries you upstairs, out through the empty halls, out into the cave. You can see the light in the distance as the blob ferries you towards it. You won't be alone for much longer. In fact, you won't be alone ever again. Now check out SCP-001, the Scarlet King, and SCP-001 Which is the Real 001 for more deep dives into SCP-001 mysteries and lore.
SCP-001. Yeah, like implications of a world ending in such a way that that you're not even safe in death is like the most horrifying concept to me. Like, I mean, I would prefer the world never to end because, you know, would kind of suck. Let's be honest. But yeesh, this is a horrifying implication. So, now we watched the videos I've prepared from SCP Explained. Now we get to a more explanatory way or more immersed way into it. I have a few videos prepared from The Volgan, very, very great channel, who reads basically the SCP files in a certain way. I've prepared a few of them. I don't know if we go through all 5 of them because for crying out loud, we are 1.5 hours in and we barely got we got through like half an hour of videos. So we're gonna switch this around a little bit. Because there are those 3 I definitely want to watch. And the remaining 2, we'll see if we get to them. So we get to an SCP I already know, but I don't know the specific video about it. It's SCP-6448, not deer. It's a highly cursed creature or creatures, and since I grew up near a lot of woods when I was a wee little lad, it's especially horrifying to me. And I don't know if I ever mentioned this before, but I actually once almost got run over by a deer when I was a kid. So it's maybe it was a not deer. I'm not sure. I'm still around, but yeah, gonna now watch the entry 6448, not deer from The Volgan. Get into it.
Good afternoon, everyone.
I got the
My name is
picture.
Dr. Miller, and the SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-6448. Containment Class, Keter. Disruption Class, Kennick. And Risk Class, Warning. Special
Got the
Containment
picture.
Procedures. Containment of SCP-6448 should be focused on investigation of deer exhibiting anomalous traits within and around the Appalachian area. All civilian sightings of SCP-6448 should be attended to by Mobile Task Force Gamma-4, Green Stags. Possible deaths resulting from SCP-6448 should be attributed to hiking accidents, and sightings are to be blamed upon chronic wasting disease. The Site-44 Cryptozoology Division is tasked with ongoing research into the not deer phenomenon. Should an SCP-6448 instance be captured, it is to be brought to Site-44 for containment and study. Description: SCP-6448 is an anomalous branch of the Cervidae family. All members of this group display heightened intelligence and are presumed to be sapient. Many specimens exhibit some form of physical malformation, causing them to stand out from non-anomalous deer. While the exact details of physical abnormalities differ between instances, repeat commonalities are as follows: legs bent backwards, barrel-chested or bloated abdomen, emaciation, eyes belonging to unrelated animals, forward-facing eyes, erratic movements, loss of fear towards humans, tendency to walk on 2 hind legs, general bodily disfigurement.
So now you know, if you ever see a deer with those characteristics, I wanted to say run, but this might not be necessarily a good idea.
Aside from physical disfigurement,
Sorry.
Instances show severe divergence from the behavior of other cervids. Namely, SCP-6448 are known to watch, observe, and stalk humans, often for hours or days.
Oh dear, yeah.
This includes following humans to and from their homes, wherein they will proceed to steal belongings, weapons, and food.
God.
Very rarely will SCP-6448 attack victims while they are indoors. SCP-6448 are most commonly encountered in deep woodland, particularly at night or dusk when a person is alone. Any form of direct acknowledgement of SCP-6448's anomalous traits in these situations will always result in the victim's termination. In such situations, personnel are to observe the extract of service protocol attached to this file immediately. See below.
So this is basically the reason why I said don't run. The best way, not a guaranteed way, the best way to keep safe from it is to try not acknowledge it. This deer simulator. Yeah. Oh no. Like, if you are in the woods outside, camping, maybe with a friend, who knows? And I know Deer Simulator is an actual game. If you're in the woods outside with a friend, camping, whatever, in the deep woodslands, and might encounter a bit of wildlife, you know? Maybe some actual deers. Who knows? But if there's a deer that's normal, watches you, not scared, stands up, looks wrong, don't acknowledge it. Don't acknowledge any of it. Just calmly up, walk away from the direction it's going. Don't act like you know what's going on. Panic. Don't tell your friend you're going camping with. Just leave. Don't look back. Leave as fast as you can without running. Maybe pretend like, oh, there's an emergency home. Need to go. Never acknowledge it. It's your
Service
death.
Protocol, SCP Foundation, Cryptozoology Division. These actions should be carried out by anyone inadvertently interacting with SCP-6448 and are necessary for your survival. Please skip to the section with relevant information if your life is under threat. If you notice that a deer seems off,
Please skip to this section if your life is under threat.
look away
Got it.
and ignore it. If it knows that you've noticed it, it's too late. If you hear your name, whistling, or something else in the woods calling for you, don't acknowledge it. Never acknowledge it exists. Don't respond. Don't go looking for it. Don't call back to it. If you're walking at night and you feel something breathing on your neck or whispering behind you, the key to your safety is pretending that everything is normal. Your survival is dependent on your ignorance. Presently, SCP-6448 are known to inhabit only the Appalachian region of North America. The previous sentence was stricken from the document. History. SCP-6448 was officially assigned anomalous classification in 1980, though they have been recognized by local people since 1947. SCP-6448 is a firmly cemented figure in Appalachian folklore, known colloquially as the not deer due to their striking similarity to the species they imitate. Many locals claim to have encountered instances of SCP-6448 or possess knowledge of an individual who has. A majority of local communities living in rural areas of high activity are aware of the precautions required to avoid hostile encounters.
So, little side fun fact. The folklore, the Appalachian folklore about the not deer is actually a thing. Like, this actually exists. The SCP is based on said folklore.
Primarily due to urban legends and stories involving the entities. SCP-6448 were previously researched at Site-41, located in an unknown location, North Carolina. On 11/01/1994, a group of 3 SCP-6448 instances broke into the site utilizing a tunnel system carved over an extended period of time. This triggered containment breach alarm systems and the site entered lockdown protocol. The single instance kept in containment, being prepared for dissection, was lost in the breach and not recovered. Over the following decade, a further 5 SCP-6448 instances would be captured and contained, all of which would escape the site through tunnels carved by other SCP-6448 entities. The decision was made to transfer all instances to Site-44, overseas, to prevent further breaches. Since this decision, no capture attempts have been successful. Addendum 6448 1. Recently recorded civilian encounters. The first reports of SCP-6448 surfaced around the week of 07/07/1947. In the time since the genus's discovery, many members of the public have encountered the entities, though most accidentally stumbling upon them do not alert local authorities. This is typically due to the SCP-6448 instance either merely watching the subject or becoming hostile. The following is a log of all recorded 911 calls related to SCP-6448 phenomena since the year 2000. Date: 02/01/2000. Details: Victim, aged...
Okay. Little side tangent. I never know when I see dates like this, because of the American way of writing the dates. This the day? This the month? Or this the month? This the day? Like, is this the 2nd of January or the 1st of February? I never know. It's the first, yeah. Like in the American writing system, this is the 1st of February. In like European, and I think, I don't know most, if I assume most of part of the world, it's the 2nd of January. I assume since this plays in Appalachia, it's the American one. But why is there even a difference? Like, I don't understand this. Why can't we not just all use the same way of writing dates?
41 female dialed emergency services after hearing their name being called from the woods near their home. The victim recounts the vocalization being likened to a scream in a voice that they do not recognize and requested assistance in locating the source. Emergency personnel requested the subject place their phone on the floor outside the home to listen for the alleged sounds. After 2 minutes, a vocalization was heard that was calling to the subject by name, emanating from the nearby forest. The subject was instructed to investigate the disturbance themselves and keep services updated on the situation. The victim then begins to walk into the woodland, getting about 50 meters into the underbrush before inexplicably stopping. They claim there to be a noticeably large deer standing in the way of the path. She begins to walk closer, though states it does not move. Subject diverts from the path and begins walking in a different direction. After 30 minutes, no source of the voice is determined. The caller returns to their residence. Date: 13/06/2002. Details:
It's why I always write out months when I say dates online. Yeah, I get it. So I may should start doing that too, because I'm so goddamn used. I mean, here it is day month. It's day month here, and it's not month day year because there is no 13th month. So this is the European writing way. It's not the American one. Unless in America there's a 13th month I'm not aware of, but as far as I know, it's not. Yeah, they're doing the more universal. I mean, I don't, if you're used to it because you learn it that way, I absolutely don't blame you. But in my opinion, day, month, year, or year, month, day makes the most sense. You go like chronologically from the shortest to the longest period of time, or from the longest to the shortest period of time. I understand why it happened with that the month is the first because of sorting. That's basically the reason why it happened, because, everything January, everything February, you sort by the month. And that's why this basically happened, that it's month, day, year. But nowadays, I just think it's impractical, really.
Victim, age 28, male, calls 911 regarding a home break-in. The caller notes numerous items to be missing from their residence and requests an investigation. Operators dispatch 2 investigators to visit the home and discern a potential perpetrator. The pair note that based on earlier CCTV images, all cutlery, sharp objects, firearms, light bulbs, and a single copy of the novel, The Day After Roswell, are missing. Also noted is that there is a complete lack of any fingerprints at the scene, with no doors or windows having been broken into. Analysis of the home's CCTV footage revealed there to be a 2-hour period of missing film, with the exception of a single frame containing a service nippon on its hind legs reaching towards the camera. Its frontal hooves have been warped to resemble fingers. No footage of the entity exiting the home was discovered.
Just having fingers where they shouldn't be is also extremely repulsive image. Same as this here. Same with all other measurements and time change. Yeah, I mean, I know this is for some people it's quite a discussion online always. So, why do the Americans not use the metric system and whatnot and the temperature? Like the Americans use Fahrenheit and everyone else uses Celsius, or almost everyone else. I think that. I mean, for Fahrenheit, I think really only the US uses it. For measuring, there are like a few other outliers. Like I think Liberia and Myanmar also use like other measurements or the imperial system, either one. And the rest uses metric. But I mean, this is such a petty thing to like. It seems only convenient to me that everyone should start to adopt a common thing in this case. And often there's the argument for, but I'm so used to like pounds and miles, and yeah, I mean everybody switched upon it. Not like you have to immediately use it, but it should be a gradual process. Maybe it should start that like every thermometer has like Fahrenheit and Celsius. Every like weight for like flour or something has kilogram and pounds, and then slowly get used to and phase it out, because for international stuff, for globalization, or for just working globally better, really, it's just better. Same could actually go for the countries that drive on the left side instead of the right, like the Brits, the Australians, and the Japanese, I think, and I think a few others. I think the Philippines too. Would probably also be eventually a good idea to all switch over, but this is again a bit of a different thing because it would probably need to change a lot of the roads too, and all the cars that have the driving wheel of the other side. But yeah, it's just my opinion. So don't have to be right. Just what I think. Good thing is a lot of containers do show both, such as a gallon of milk will also display the liters. Okay, yeah, so I'm not. I mean, I know that there's like the 2-liter bottle. So there's like a few things in America that are metric, like the 9mm. It's like a weird mix of in a few things. Like on the other hand, when I like here in Europe, when I buy like a monitor or a TV screen, the diagonal is still measured often in inches, which I don't get. I mean, there's always the centimeter right next to it, but it's still like the diagonal for most. Like we still say it's like a 27-inch monitor or something. It's also weird.
Date 19/11/2005. Details: a cattle farmer aged 54
Completely got off the radio.
reported to local authorities the sudden disappearance of over 30% of his largest herd. Response teams searched the nearby area for 4 hours, though found no trace of the cattle. The victim was recommended to set up trail cams and note any unusual activity.
No, I apologize for distraction. This is not your fault, Rock. But yeah, it's a weirdly specific thing that we measure this in inches. Or like it's advertised in inches. Like there's always like 27 inches and then like in brackets like the centimeters. So it's never on its own.
Activity overnight. At 01:11 a.m., 2 SCP-6448 are seen walking through the field before fleeing. One places an object into the ground, later discovered to be a single fork. A week after this discovery, 200 discarded bovine hooves appear at the location. Date: 04/03/2009. Details: victim, age unknown, gender unknown, dials 911 to request assistance from animal services. The victim is stood within a forest in front of a service elephant, which is violently contorting. The animal is repeatedly ramming itself into a tree, covered in blood and viscera. The victim begins to state, "You'd better get a vet or something, I don't think it's well," before a piercing screech is heard and the line falls silent. Recovered footage depicts the aforementioned animal squirming, seemingly in pain. A viscous churning is audible as a black mass erupts out of the instance, and the video turns to static. Date: 11/10/2012. Details: victim, aged 23, male, is a junior wildlife officer at Cherokee National Forest, Tennessee. They radio their supervisor in early evening regarding a herd of Odocoileus virginianus within the reserve. Supposedly, there is a single animal that upon first glance appears average, though possesses divergent attributes including backward joints, an enlarged abdomen, and forward-facing eyes. Upon stating this, a distant whistle is audible and the victim stumbles slightly. They begin to say, "What the hell? Did it just whistle at me?" before the sound of hooves rapidly getting closer is heard. Notably, the hoof steps did not sound to be in the traditional gallop of a cervid.
I mean, if a creature like this
Date:
would stand in front of me,
12/10/2012.
could you really
Details:
not acknowledge
the
it?
aforementioned victim's supervisor calls the authorities following the victim's absence from the reserve night shift. Following this, their radio begins to crackle. The victim's voice can be heard on the other end, and he requests the supervisor's attention. He calls regarding a herd of Odocoileus virginianus within the reserve. They claim there is a single animal that upon first glance appears average, though possesses divergent attributes including backward joints, an enlarged abdomen, and forward-facing eyes. Suspecting the creature to be a rare genetic malformation, the victim requests their supervisor to come to the location. The supervisor questions the victim about what happened the night previous. There is no reply. Upon the supervisor's and law enforcement's arrival at the site, a herd of approximately 80 Odocoileus virginianus was present. A single entity is in the field's center and appeared to be standing separately from the rest of the group. It flees the scene upon realizing the law enforcement's presence. Where it formerly stood laid a park ranger's standard two-way radio. Date: 08/04/2016. Details:
Getting quite recent, actually.
victim, aged 35, female, dials 911 using a satellite phone, distressed. They state that they are in undisclosed county woods and are being followed. She claims that despite seeing no one for the duration of her hike, she feels as if she's being watched and has heard someone walking behind her at various points in the trip. The victim is unable to give an adequate description of her location, but knows the route to return to her residence. Operators request the victim to return to a point wherein she can provide a sufficient geographic description of her position. The victim remains on the line for the duration of the hike back to a readily used portion of the wilderness trail. Along the journey, various unnatural sounds can be heard. These include footsteps, rock slides, coughing, whispering, and whistling. Nearing the main trail,
I mean, not to be too nitpicky here now. Rock slides sound like something relatively natural in the wilderness. Not, I mean, footsteps, coughing, whispering, whistling, okay, fine, but rock slide, I mean, this is not something that can happen naturally.
such as birds and wind cease suddenly, and the victim states she can see a malformed deer carcass coated in a thick layer of black slime-like substance. At this time, human screams can be heard in the distance. Operators request the victim continue and ignore other stimuli. Agents embedded in local law enforcement, suspecting SCP-6448 involvement, notify Gamma-4 to the situation. 20 minutes later, the victim returns to the main trail. Gamma-4, now operating the 911 call, informed the victim to not respond to any further unusual activity and briefly outlined service protocol. For the duration of the victim's journey to her home, 2 sets of breathing are audible. The victim successfully returns to her residence and shuts the door behind her. Now out of sight from SCP-6448, agents inquire upon the victim's address and the victim promptly complies. Operatives instruct the victim to have possession of all firearms and weapons on the premises and to barricade herself inside a safe space with 1 exfil point. The victim swiftly begins grabbing all available weapons and throwing them inside a wardrobe. It is at this time that there is a knock on the front door. The victim does not respond and continues to hoard sharp objects from kitchen drawers. The knocking becomes more violent as the handle is being jostled and shaken incessantly. A voice on the other side repeats the phrase, "Hello, it is me. Hello, let me in a calm manner as the door begins to shake. The victim retreats to her wardrobe armed with a small firearm. Upon sealing herself in the space, the knocking ceases and footsteps can be heard, decreasing in volume. The sound of galloping is audible as the front door caves in. Footsteps can be now heard inside the home.
Basically rammed the door open. But yeah, this... It's me. Hey, it's me, let me in. Hey, it's me, let me in. Oh,
The
God.
entity continues to repeat, "Hello, it is me. Hello, let me in," as it searches the small building. A bright light flashes overhead, seemingly circling the house. Eventually, the entity enters the victim's bedroom. Through a small slit in the wardrobe door, the victim can see a Cervus canadensis standing on its hind legs and surveying the room. Its movements are crooked and stiff, seeming to struggle to stand in a bipedal fashion. It slouches down to a quadrupedal crouch, similar to the stance of an arachnid. It inhales heavily, and its head locks on the view of the wardrobe. It is noted as possessing human eyes. It scampers toward the subject and opens the door. A single gunshot is heard. Responders found no trace of either SCP-6448 or the victim. It should be noted that this represents a small fraction of human to SCP-6448 encounters, as the majority of occasions go unnoticed and undocumented. On these occasions, all associated video, photographs, and objects were confiscated by MTF Gamma-4, who also called off public investigation. Cover stories 356 Alpha, Home Break-In, and 898 Gamma, Missing 411 were successfully implemented. Addendum 6448 2. Incident 6448 Alpha. On 29/11/2019, Mobile Task Force Gamma-4, Green Stags successfully detained and captured an instance of SCP-6448 with the assistance of Mobile Task Force Nu 7 Hammer Down's Heavy Vehicles Division and highly experimental shock rifles. The resulting skirmish left a single instance unconscious, which was swiftly placed aboard an armored CH-47 Chinook helicopter en route to Site 44 in England to prevent outside assistance. Upon reaching the site, the sedated entity was transferred to a containment cell without incident. The following is a log of events thereafter. Incident 6448 Alpha. Date 30/11/2019.
This is now
Location,
it gets
Site
creepy.
44,
For me
Fowler's
more.
Island, England. Playing log now. SCP-6448 instance is contained within a large reinforced steel containment cell, having just awoken from heavy sedation. Cryptozoology specialist F. Oz stands in front of a large one-way glass window that encompasses the room's south side.
Greetings, SCP-6448.
The instance suddenly bolts upright and stares at the intercom.
Can you understand me? We've seen your genus speak English just fine in the past.
The instance does not respond. It begins licking its arm.
Please. We know your secret.
The instance pauses.
Admittedly, it wasn't exactly well kept. If you just look at yourself for more than a few seconds, it is very clear that you're not normal.
I hear it all the time too. No, but this I like those interview parts
The
the
instance is
most.
stood facing away from the window. Its neck swivels 180 degrees, visibly breaking multiple vertebrae as there is an audible crack. It does not blink.
I thought you said this was one way.
The instance's gaze remains locked on researcher Oz.
Are you something imitating deer? It is clear that, if so, you possess basic anatomical knowledge on them, though details are faulty. In fact, a better question would be, how? Assuming you are not what you pretend to be.
The instance opens its mouth, which contains abnormally sharp teeth. Its jaw moves in a manner that seems to imitate speech. No intelligible dialect is heard, rather a sound similar to gagging or choking is audible.
Okay.
Shall we move on? What I'm more concerned with here is why you take our people. Is it to settle a vendetta? For food? Spite?
The instance blinks for the first time in the interview. The movement is noticeably forced.
Responding is mandatory.
Don't know if this is gonna help.
Shows no reaction.
If you will not comply, maybe you'd like to see your brand new containment. Research. What kind of research? 1947.
The instance suddenly rams the 20-inch thick one-way
It's
glass.
just a very old and
cracking its
tragic
leg.
mimic. Maybe.
The instance begins to collapse. It contorts violently and begins screaming. Its abdomen bulges and writhes.
Get the stags in here now!
A black, viscous mass of tendrils erupts out of the instance's side. It leaps and squirms around the cell before shattering the viewing window. The remaining carcass is entirely hollow.
Containment breach detected. All personnel report to the nearest safe room. Containment sector 4 last floor will seal in 10 seconds.
The tendrilless mass swiftly maneuvers outside of Sector 4 in seconds, clearing the lockdown area. It travels in the direction of the main exit.
Full high block initiated. Locking main exit in 5 seconds.
The mass clears the main desk. It shatters the glass on the front exit and disappears into the outside shrubbery. End log. A 2-month-long search proved inefficient in locating the escaped anomaly. Additionally, since this incident, there has been an unprecedented increase of CWD-afflicted deer and UFO reports in the area surrounding Site 44. Further research is ongoing.
So basically they imported this American
Okay.
crypto
I
creature
think that about does it for today.
to Europe.
Thank you for
England
listening,
specifically.
if indeed you still are, and you are all dismissed. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Dr. Miller. Thank you. Yeah, that's the Volgan. I really, really love his way of talking, explaining those.
I would like to give a special thank you to Zargaran,
Oh, GLaDOS.
Prop Guy,
Didn't know like the AI from Portal
Alexius and GLaDOS,
participated.
James Saba, Hello, Lost Boy, your local Foundation agent.
So I already knew this entry. I didn't know this video. It's really, really cool presented with the boys and the whole setup. Really love the Volgan channel. Probably not gonna watch all of them because we're already like at 2 hours. But I wanna watch 2 more. The next one, this is one I'm interested in because I don't know it at all. And it sounds very interesting. It's the hyper-religious cats. I don't know this SCP. It's SCP-4516. I'm quite interested how this is gonna be. So let's check it out. Don't mess with hyper-religious cats. I mean, this does sound like very good advice in general. What a hyper-religious... I mean, my first thought is Egypt. With like the basically... saw cats as holy creatures or like messengers of God or gods directly, either way. And as we all know, and everyone who owns cats, they do still feel like that to this day. But don't mess with the hyper-religious cats. Sounds very ominous. I have no idea about this SCP. I've never seen it, heard it, any of it. I'm really curious.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Miller, and the SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-4516. Object Class: Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. All entrances to SCP-4516 have been shielded with thaumaturgic warding. Personnel are to maintain these wards indefinitely.
Okay, I need to be
Under no
warded
circumstances are
off.
personnel to enter SCP-4516 unless the majority of the L5 Council are in agreement. All
Okay.
objects and entities extracted from SCP-4516 are to be kept in containment indefinitely. Research of Class 2 anomalous objects or lower is permitted with the written permission of the Site Director. Anomalous objects above Class 2 require written permission from the Regional Director. Non-sapient biological entities are to be sterilized and maintained until their death, after which the body is to be incinerated after study. Sapients are to be naturalized in terrestrial law and relocated to various anomalous enclaves should they have no criminal record, are not infected with a contagious illness, and are not connected to Sorxus nations monetarily, militarily, or religiously. Description:
Huh?
SCP-4516 is a series of 4 gateways to an unknown location believed to be somewhere within the Milky Way galaxy. These gateways are located in Iraq, SCP-4516-1, North Korea, SCP-4516-2, the Bahamas, SCP-4516-3, and the United Kingdom,
The UK again.
SCP-4516-4. Upon entering an instance of SCP-4516, the individual will experience symptoms typical of long-distance gateway travel, including nausea, dizziness, ringing in the ears, bleeding from the gums, etc. The
Yeah.
exit point is always the same regardless of instance entered. This appears to be a large forest filled with trees of an unknown species. Travel through the gateway from the other side takes the individual to the original gateway from which they entered. Native entities are sent to a random destination unless they are in physical contact with one another. The exit point has been designated SCP-4516-A.
Okay, so this,
SCP-4516-B is the interior of a Dyson sphere, indicated by the binary stars in the middle of the sky and the curved nature of the world, allowing
okay, so Dyson sphere, for those who don't know what a Dyson sphere is, it's basically like a construct, a theoretical construct for us, that basically envelops a star like the sun to harvest all its energy. It's like a concept of like it's called a Type 2 civilization that manages to use all the energy from their home star.
one to view the perceived top of the sphere from the bottom. A gravitational anomaly pervades the entire structure, making objects behave as they would on Earth, negating the centrifugal forces. It is estimated that the Dyson sphere has a roughly 16 light-minute, 287,800,000 kilometer diameter. The atmospheric composition of SCP-4516-A is similar to Earth, albeit with slightly higher levels of neon and lower levels of argon than baseline. It should also be noted that SCP-4516-A is anomalously stable, showing no signs of orbital decay or seasons related to an area's distance from the Sun. SCP-4516-B possesses a noticeably elevated thaumaturgical inclination than Earth, making spells and naturally occurring anomalous abilities much stronger in SCP-4516-B than on baseline Earth. The reverse is also true, as organisms and
Okay, so like this is like another world somewhere else in the Milky Way galaxy, and the anomalous capabilities of different entities are enhanced.
spells
there.
native to SCP-4516-B have less thaumaturgical prowess on Earth than they do in SCP-4516-B. SCP-4516-B possesses an extremely extensive and varied biosphere, with an estimated 1.3 times 10 to the power of 16 indigenous species although the accuracy of this estimate is presently uncertain. An estimated 87% of all species display some sort of thaumaturgical ability, ranging from teleportation to chronological displacement. The remaining 13% of life forms that do not display thaumaturgical abilities are highly specialized life forms that are limited to specific environments, typically the deep ocean or highly isolated islands. To date, the architects of SCP-4516-B are unknown. Numerous sapient species and a handful of deities have been
hyper-intelligent
discovered,
cats or
although it is
hyper-religious.
believed that these naturally evolved on SCP-4516-B and not the builders of the structure. Discovery. SCP-4516 was discovered after a group of large humanoid mammalian beings appeared spontaneously in the Bahamas on November 30th, 1945. These entities measured 7 meters in height, with green-dark skin, a single eye, and were armed with crossbows and swords. These entities were intercepted by the Global
Cyclops.
Occult Coalition and destroyed before the Foundation was aware of the incident. The event was classified as an anomalous incident until an identical event occurred on July 9, 1948, in North Korea. Foundation assets were alerted in time and containment is established with a single Foundation fatality. Upon interrogation, SCP-4516-B was discovered, in addition to SCP-4516-1, 3, and 4, based on Foundation records of similar incidents. The entities, collectively classified as SCP-4516-1, were each individually interrogated and revealed to be colonists from Torak, a city-state within SCP-4516, and were attempting to escape persecution for their religious beliefs. Contact with the entity's government was established and exploration of SCP-4516 began.
Okay, so interesting. They actually... Okay, there are civilizations out there. I mean, I think they already mentioned this. And they actually managed to establish contact with
Humanoids were
them. That's
naturalized in
extremely
terrestrial
interesting.
law and relocated to various anomalous enclaves, including 3 portlands. The species numbers in the 60,000s according to the 2017 census. Incident 4516-1. After years of negotiation with the Commonwealth of Torak, the state was overtaken by the nearby nation of Forathia due to a combination of border disputes, religious disagreements, and catalyzed by an assassination attempt on the Torakian queen's favorite concubine. The nation of Forathia was much more hostile towards the Foundation than the original Torakian government. This is best shown through the infiltration of the Foundation by a Forathian agent whom is responsible for a containment breach on Site-16, resulting in the death of 892 Foundation personnel and 36 civilians. Following this, the Foundation was temporarily cut off from SCP-4516-1, isolating personnel on the interior from Earth. After 3 months of no contact, the gateways were reopened. Foundation assets previously trapped within SCP-4516-1 had apparently worked with Forathian rebels and overthrown their rule, re-establishing the nation of Torak. The nation of Forathia was destroyed in the conflict. Personnel involved were given the Foundation Gold Star for valor. Exploration of SCP-4516-1.
So basically, they just overthrown a government. Oh,
Incident
okay, that's
4516
actually quite cool.
Through exploration of SCP-4516-B, a city-state under the name of Minotarius is encountered. Measuring 18 kilometers wide, Minotarius is inhabited by a species of cat-like quadrupeds measuring 2 meters at the shoulder. This species is telekinetic and are able to use a very limited form of thaumaturgy. Upon contact, the inhabitants of the city-state had an abrupt socio-religious shift. Foundation personnel apparently resembled the inhabitants' version of angels, and thus believed the Foundation to be holy beings. This quickly degraded, however, once the inhabitants realized that Foundation personnel have red blood, when their angels bleed purple when injured. This led to a brief civil war before a massive assault against Foundation forces, the inhabitants believing them to be demons and wishing the apocalypse upon them.
What is happening?
65% of personnel did not survive. The remaining 35% were forced to retreat into Torak. A siege ensued, which negatively affected the relationship between the Foundation and Torak. Incident 4516-3. Torak, after 19 months of siege, is finally overrun after a tunnel constructed by the Mentarians opens up near the center of the city-state. A mass slaughter ensues, resulting in nearly 100% casualties among Foundation and Torakian forces. The gateway is sealed immediately. To date, there has been 17 incursions from the other side of SCP-4516, each of which has been successfully repelled. Incident.
Okay, so let me just get this straight right now. So the SCP itself is like a gateway into another world, or like another world in the Milky Way galaxy, to be precise. And like they established a alliance, or not alliance, like an understanding with the nation of Torak. The nation of Torak fell to another nation nearby, which name I forgot. But the Foundation personnel that was still trapped in this world because the gates were closed managed to overthrow it and like basically free Torak again. The gateways opened again, and new explorations started, which led then to find these hyper-religious cats, which first thought the humans, the personnel, were angels until they realized they didn't bleed purple but red, and now they're trying to destroy everything because they think it's demons. Did I get this right? Oh my god.
4. After 3 years of inactivity from the exit point, a Foundation strike force was authorized to enter in order to assert the current situation in SCP-4516-B. It was quickly ascertained that the forest previously surrounding the exit point had been converted into a new nation called the Mamorthian Empire. This nation is very technologically, socially, and thaumaturgically advanced. The conflict between the Mentarians and Torakians was determined, according to historical records, to have spilled out into the surrounding area and civilizations, enveloping the entire region into a brutal series of wars and unstable alliances, along with religious, species, and ethnic purges. This culminated in a single war between 3 different alliances: the Gornok Union, the Sorxis, and Marinian Confederacy. The Gornok Union was a collection of highly authoritarian, theocratic states. The Sorxis was a collection of very secular and collectivist nations, and the Marinian Confederacy was an ideologically diverse group of nations which would be too weak to otherwise defend themselves. Rapidly advancing technology and thaumaturgy, which was aided by technology and other materials left behind by Foundation personnel in the years prior, ultimately allowed a joint Gornok and Marinian force to destroy the Sorxis alliance. This, however, has led to a military standoff between theocratic states and the increasingly libertarian Marinian states, with terrorist attacks perpetrated by Sorxis-backed groups against Marinian nations becoming increasingly common, as is immigration from these nations.
Oh my god.
This concludes today's lecture.
Oh, that's already it?
If indeed you still are, and you are all dismissed. Goodbye.
Okay, that was amazing. I need to look up if there's like more to this. There's like an entire lore behind it.
Thank you to Tomothy, Anvil.
This was amazing. I loved it. Immediately like leave a like there. This was an amazing video. I hope I wasn't too silent during it, because I was actually engrossed in it. I do apologize if it was if I got a bit too much into it. That was really cool. So I think we're gonna do one last video for today, because actually I noticed I get quite tired. I don't know if you noticed my model a bit glitchy out, but because I constantly yawn all the time. I think I'm a bit more tired than I thought I would be. So we're gonna watch one more video. And I'm gonna warn you. This is probably the scariest one for today. We're gonna end up with it. We're gonna end with it. It's an amazing one. I've already seen it before. And it's SCP-2316. A field trip. An incredibly dangerous and incredibly creepy SCP. So buckle up. You're in for a treat. Let's get right into it. You do not recognize the bodies in the water.
By order of the Overseer Council, the following file describes a Keter-class anomalous cognitohazard and is Level 42316 classified. Unauthorized access is forbidden.
Item number 2316. Level 4, Secret. Containment class, Keter. Disruption class, Kennic. And Risk class, Danger.
The following file contains images and text that are carriers for anomalous cognitohazardous influences.
You do not recognize the bodies in the water.
Due to this, it is imperative that all personnel
God.
accessing this file be certified as having a cognitive resistance value, CRV, of no less than 14.5. Should you fail an automated CRV verification, please remain calm and do not move. A member of your site's medical staff will be with you shortly.
Got it. Thank you.
Please repeat the following phrase slowly and clearly into your terminal microphone.
I do not recognize the
Warning,
bodies in
adjust
the
the
water.
variance processor. Verification complete. User CRV is within acceptable limits.
Nice.
Special containment procedures. Under no circumstances are Foundation personnel to approach SCP-2316. Observation of SCP-2316 must only be carried out by remote dummy probes utilizing video and audio recording equipment. Only those personnel adequately rated for exposure to cognitohazardous anomalies may review footage and audio of SCP-2316. The lake in which SCP-2316 is located has been quarantined and fenced off, and is to be routinely patrolled by individuals who have not been exposed to SCP-2316 and have no prior knowledge of its characteristics.
You do not recognize the bodies in the water.
Individuals who attempt to bypass the enforced quarantine must be apprehended and moved to Site 33 for a full cognitive influence screening. Individuals who come within 50 meters of the lake containing SCP-2316 are to be considered lost.
What the heck?
Please repeat the following phrase slowly and clearly into your terminal microphone.
I do not recognize the bodies in the
Warning, adjust
water.
tonal variance processor. Verification complete.
Okay.
User CRV is within acceptable limits.
Nice.
Description: SCP-2316 is the designation for an anomalous phenomenon existing within County. SCP-2316 manifests as a group of human corpses floating in a small group at the surface of the water. The identities of these corpses are,
Cognitohazard removed. Automated change unknown.
though DNA testing has been inconclusive.
Okay.
While SCP-2316 appears to be individual instances, it is theorized that SCP-2316 may instead be an entity composed of a collective consciousness.
Hive minds.
Individual instances of SCP-2316 do not act on their own, but do seem to be able to act collectively as a single unit. The individual instances of SCP-2316 are unrecognizable.
You do not recognize the bodies in the water.
SCP-2316 hosts a powerful cognitohazardous effect, causing those who have viewed SCP-2316, are aware of certain parts of its nature, or who were enrolled in
Cognitohazard removed. Automated message invalid.
to believe that the individual instances of SCP-2316 are human beings they recognize, typically from their childhood. Attempting to
What?
come into contact with SCP-2316 instances by way of entering Lake or touching an instance of SCP-2316 will cause other instances of SCP-2316 to appear.
You do not recognize the bodies in the water.
The additional instances
don't
only
recognize
serve
the
to
bodies in the water.
reinforce and add to the strength of the cognitohazard, compelling affected individuals into the lake. Individuals who enter the lake in this way are lost,
Is there whispering
and to
in the
date,
background?
none have been recovered. Addendum 2316-1. Interview.
Data expired. Error. Unrecognized user. Please log in to view file A0 less than. Verification PI. User CCRL is within accepted. Let me show you their faces. Begin log.
Did you ever feel compelled to enter the water? Like something was pulling you in? What? No, of course not. There's nothing wrong with them.
Wait. Is this an interview for someone?
I saw them
Didn't they say nobody? What? Everybody was lost?
I wanted to hear what they were saying. They're my friends. When you entered the water, what did you see? Faces. My friends. Faces I recognized. Some I didn't, but they became more familiar as I saw them. I'd known them my whole life, but there was something wrong with them. Like the face of someone you see in a dream, or you can't remember it right. There's something wrong in the way they're speaking. They speak. No, that's impossible. They're simply not moving their mouths, but I could hear them asking for help. They told me. They told me who they were. They told me you knew who they were. That you... Enough of that. You're clearly succumbing to the cognitohazard. We need to get you medical attention, Agent. If you... Get your hands off me! I know all their names, Harrison! I heard them speaking to me! Every single one! All it takes is one person to see them and tell people, and they'll know what you've been trying to hide! Turk Longwood High School! Pass them, get them out of here, take them to amnestics, and turn that goddamn recorder on!
End log. Please repeat the following
Okay.
phrase slowly and clearly into your terminal microphone.
I do not recognize the bodies of the...
Verification incomplete.
User CRV is not within acceptable limits. User CRV influenced by active cognitohazards. Please stay still. A member of your site's medical staff 4045
Ich habe Schaden damals. Okay. No.
Addendum 2316-2.
Invalid entry. Terminal low 532. You don't have a lot of time. You'll need to get away quickly. Go back to the lake. Go into the water. Look into their eyes. It's your friends, your classmates. You took the trip to the lake in the fall of '75 together when you were young. Don't you remember?
Makes you jump back.
Their eyes. I know you can hear them talking to you, just like they talk to me. Don't let them tell you it's just a cognitohazard. This is their fault.
They caused this.
We were all innocent kids, don't you remember? And you just got away, you and I. The rest of them are at the bottom of that lake, waiting for us to go back to them and be whole together again. They want us to know. They want us to
remember.
Wake up, goddammit. Remember the fall of '75, the year we were supposed to graduate. Don't
Let them make you forget.
They're
I do
calling
not
to you.
recognize the bodies in the water.
Can you hear them?
I do not recognize the bodies in the water.
Can you hear them?
I do not recognize the
Can you hear them?
bodies.
Can you hear them? Can you hear them? Look into their eyes. Can you hear them? 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 Can't you hear them? Can you hear them? Can you hear them? I know you can. Can you hear
Do
them?
not.
Can you hear them?
Recognize the bodies in the water. You did not recognize the bodies in the water. You did not recognize the bodies in the water. You did not recognize the bodies in the water. You do not. They're waiting for you.
Okay. What?
Description. SCP-1833 is a copy of the 1976 edition
Wait,
Kirkland High
1833.
School Yearbook.
What?
1833 is a copy of the 1976 edition Kirklandwood High School Yearbook.
Okay, I'm gonna go. Yeah, don't blame me, Panda.
Student Carolyn Kirk. The yearbook shows mild wear and use indicative of its age. The front cover of SCP-1833 shows a 3-arrow design with the words Reflections of 76 near the center of the page and KLHS 1976 in the bottom right corner. The back of SCP-1833 is blank. save for a small amount of charring along the spine. An inscription inside the back cover reads, "We've had a great year, haven't we? Don't worry about waiting for the reunion. I'm sure we'll see each other soon enough. Lots of love from all your best friends."
Verification complete. User CRV is within acceptable limits.
Okay. Okay. Oh, I watched this video like a while ago. I did not remember it. Like when the screen suddenly turned red, I actually
I would
jumped
like
back.
to give a special thank you to
Yeah, thank you, Morgan. Oh my god, I actually jumped back. Like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay. Wait, let me just real quick. Hi. So, oh my god. Yeah. As I said, we're gonna end the stream here. Thank you all so much for watching. Normally I would go on for like at least another half an hour, if not longer, but I mean, at first I was tired. Now I'm a bit scared and tired. Excuse me. I don't know. I yawn all the time, even though one should think like I'm awake now, but I'm not. I don't know what's going on. Thank you all so much for coming by. As for next stream on Thursday, I have a new game prepared for it. Not gonna spoil it yet, but I'm sure you will like it. And for now, we can. Ah, not really. It's not really anyone there. Okay, then no raid today. Thank you so much for coming by. I see you all on Thursday, and I hope, despite the scare, you have a nice, lovely evening. See you soon, and bye bye. The end screen. We use it. Don't use it that often. I mean, before I raid, I guess. Anyway, today, no raid. Thank you all so much for watching, and I see you in the next stream.